By saluting the nation's flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight in attendance are Supervisors Fisher, Aguizio, Cassiola, Savavik, and Fleer. In addition, Township Manager Don Januso, Chief of Police Sean Bukovinsky, Planning Director and Assistant Township Manager Jack King, Director of Public Works Bill Bodor, Township Engineer Dan Deiseroth of Gateway Engineers, and Township Solicitor Gretchen Moore. Comments will be taken at this time for any item to be voted on by the board that appears on the agenda. General Township comments or questions will be addressed after the Board of Supervisors discussion of all business. Please step to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. I'm sorry.
Can we talk about the new business?
Yeah, anything that's currently on the agenda.
Michelle Stonemark, 40 North DePauli. I'm here to talk about the under new business, the voting to have a hearing, the oil and gas ordinance. Having discussed that.
So I'll just stop you and save you some time, before we get into it. The only thing we're doing in that situation is deciding whether or not to open it up for a public hearing. There's a number of ordinances, oil and gas, fire code, and Sunday work ordinance. So there's not going to be any decisions made this evening. There's not going to be really any discussion this evening other than whether or not this board wants to consider opening our oil and gas ordinance for future public hearings. And keep in mind, there's a process to that. So if we open it up for future public hearings, there would be discussions. We would hear everyone who wants to come up and speak. There would then need to be an additional, either specially advertised meeting or one of our regular meetings where there would be a vote taking place. So if you're here because you think there's going to be a discussion this evening, specific or an in-depth discussion specific to oil and gas, that's not the case. So I'll save you some time.
That's actually not what I was going to say, but I wanted to say that I have spoken to each one of the supervisors privately, aside from Supervisor Savavik, about this topic of changing the oil and gas ordinance and how out of date it is, and how since Act 13 was overturned, we've never updated it, how surrounding communities' ordinances are all way further up to date than our oil and gas ordinances. So I think it's something that this board needs to consider if we're going to move forward in the future with any oil and gas development. I think that, and again, like I said, I've talked to Supervisor Fisher extensively, Supervisor Aguizio, Supervisor Fleer, Supervisor Cassiola, with the exception of Mr. Savavik, which I probably have in the past, I just don't remember, anytime recent, about the need for this, and all of you have agreed that yes, it is something that needs to be looked at again. So I encourage you to vote yes, let's open it up, let's hear what the public has to say.
There are a number, I'll just kind of address that. There are a number, more than a number. There's probably 100 different ordinances that need to be looked at and addressed and brought up to date, and yeah, that is one.
Well, that was also a pretty hot topic in this community, so.
For sure. Thank you.
Hi, Kara Sherman, 58 North DePauli Road, regarding resolution 042-2020, holding tank agreement for Range Resources Augustine well site. Is there any information that can be shared on what this is in regard to? Because according to the only information I have available to me, which is the published schedule as of 1/28, there's no discussion of anything happening before spring 2020. So if there's a communication that's going on between the township and Range that's going to result in activity on the well site, or a plan to do something, which this line item here indicates to me that there's some plans or intent to do something, if they're applying what it was as a permit, what is the holding tank agreement? None of this information is outlined in the schedule, so I'd ask for any information regarding this line item to be shared.
So here's what I'm doing. I don't have anything to answer that question. I would assume there is someone here tonight from Range that intends to, yes, no? But still, like, if there's nobody here,
I would then ask that that item be tabled,
Tabled, yeah.
because the information is not being disclosed.
right, and at this point, I don't think we even have anything, so.
It's the standard sewer.
It's a standard sewer holding tank.
But somebody from Range should have come.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, it's administrative in that Range Resources applies in our township, of course, to the Washington County Sewage Council. The permits are issued by the Washington County Sewage Council based on their rules and regulations, and then that's the overseeing power when it comes to those holding tank
Well, we
agreements.
sent the agreement to review,
I don't know if Liz sent it to the board or not.
so how are we supposed to vote on it if we never read it?
I'll see that she gets you a copy.
Yeah, I mean, when we get to that,
They gotta put up
when we get to that
$2,500.
item, we can address it, but I can honestly say I've never seen it. So,
Okay, so my only point is, that the only way for me to get information on this, it seems it will affect something, is the published schedule. There's no indication of any plans, anything happening on the site in any kind of specific nature, in any future time, period. So again, I'll bring this up every single time, I'll come up here every single month to say the same thing. If there are any plans that are going on regarding intention for activity on that site, the information should be disclosed in the schedule in some adequate level of detail. And catching something on an item that apparently nobody really has any additional information to share on is concerning to me. So again, I would say we don't vote on anything. If anyone, no one here can say what's being voted on. That's my point.
I hear what you're saying, that it's a standard agreement, but I think that it should have been furnished to this board, because at the end of the day, if we vote on it, we're responsible for that decision. So,
Understood, this is probably the first one that she's seen since she's taken the role.
I'm not placing blame, I just think, and we can address it when we get to it, but I do agree with Ms. Sheridan that perhaps this needs to be tabled. I was under the assumption that someone from Range would be here to discuss.
No, matter of fact, I don't think Range will be. Like I said, it's just simply an application that's handled through the county. As long as it meets the county approval, and I don't think there's any way that this board could override that county's approval of the suit. They're the controlling body for that particular holding tank.
But we're being asked to do it.
Because there's money, like Tom said, there's money involved. You have to take a $1,500 escrow because there's money involved. It requires an official action of the board.
So I'm sorry, is the holding tank for water regarding operations at the site, is it something related to sewer? Do we even know?
Sewage,
Sewage for facilities that are
for
gonna
their
be?
bunkhouses.
Okay, so I didn't realize.
They're not,
It's just only for the bunkhouse.
That's not an approval for that, okay. So when we get to that, we'll address it, but I can say at this point, I'm not comfortable, personally, I'm not comfortable enough voting on it without having seen the agreement or fully understanding it. So we can get to that when we.
Okay, that's fine, and that goes again to my request that additional detail be provided on the schedule. Thanks.
Absolutely, thanks. Anybody else? Before we move on? Okay. I'm not going